So massive shout out here to Crystal and Sagar over at Breaking Points because they decided they were going to commission a focus group in New Hampshire. Now, by the way, I know this from behind the scenes. This is not easy. This is a very expensive project. You know, this is something that only usually giant media operations can carry out. But Breaking Points decided to, get real serious here and invest in something like this. And I think it was a phenomenal success. So honestly, we have content for days to react to here. Republican focus group in New Hampshire. They're going to be asked a lot of interesting questions. Let's dive into it. This one is about Trump. Basically the general overview of who are you voting for, who do you support, and some of the back and forths that these people have. Let's watch.
So write it down, the name of the person, the name of the candidate who you're currently supporting.
I would say Trump. And the reason being is because I would look back at his presidential days and all that was accomplished and what America was like. And then I would fast forward to where America is now. And I wouldn't want to keep going that way.
Trump there.
I would love to ask this woman, name 3 policies that he did that you like. Name 3. I think she could probably get 1, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe like there's a 52% chance of her naming 1 policy of Trump's that she liked. Now, my guess is whatever she would list, I would also dislike. Like, oh, I like the tax cuts. Really? Well, 83% of them went to the top 1%, and he cut corporate taxes. So I don't like that. That's actually horrible. But maybe she could point that out. You think she can name 2 others? You're going to sense a theme here. Everybody's so vague when they talk about Trump. It's so vague. Okay, let's keep going.
Trump, there we go. Yes, sorry. Yep. And the reason being is his past accomplishments. We did in,
Name them. For the love of Christ, name them. It's... I don't know if I've ever heard somebody on the right go, I like Trump's accomplishments, and then actually list, quote unquote, accomplishments. I don't know if I've ever heard that.
For 3.5, 4 years. And he does support the working class a lot more, I think, than the other party does right now.
Trump supports the working class more than the Democrats. That is the most factually incorrect thing I've ever heard. I'll just give you one fact that destroys that. Under Trump, there was a net outsourcing of 200,000 jobs. Factory jobs, manufacturing jobs. Under Biden, we are increasing factory jobs by 800,000. Oh yeah, Trump really helps the working class, unlike the other guys. Like, I don't know how to get through to these people. If they don't actually engage with reality, I don't know how to get through to them. Because I'm sure if I tell this person that fact, they'd just be like, no, I don't care. Trump is still more for the working class. Based on what? His tax cuts were for the rich. And he lost jobs. What are you talking about? They don't have an argument. It's just feels. It's just vibes. And that drives me crazy, man. Oh, if there's anything I hope to accomplish in the long run, which I definitely won't accomplish, but I hope to accomplish getting people less vibes-based, more policy-based.
And also what he's fighting now, what he's going through the political firestorm of all these affidavits, as he said, I'm fighting for you because if this can happen to me, it will happen to you.
I don't think it's going to happen to you. And by the way, one of these guys is going to go on to say this, because I don't think you called the Secretary of State of Georgia and said, find me 11,000 votes because I want to steal the election. So I think you're safe. I think you're safe. Did you pay hush money to a porn star? Did you steal top secret and classified documents that were even as top secret as nuclear documents and then refuse to turn them over and obstruct justice? Did you do that? Did you set up fake elector slates where you tried to defraud the U.S. government and steal the election? I don't think you did. I think you're fine.
If you say the wrong thing, you're in trouble today.
Trump, definitely, because he needs to put us back where we were with oil independence, secured borders, great economy, just looking out for us. He gave the military a raise when they hadn't had one for decades or years, I should say. And he made the VA better than what it was. And he needs to take over where he left off, which is making us where we were, especially with the oil independence.
Do you think this guy has any idea that Biden approved the Willow Project? By the way, this is something that people on the left have criticized Biden for. The U.S., I believe, is still the #1 exporter of oil and gas. And he's like, well, bro, we had oil independence under Trump. We don't have it right now. What are you talking? Oh, I can't. Look, Biden's record has been mixed on this oil drilling thing. We just covered the other day. He actually took away various permits for oil drilling in Alaska. But again, he still approved the Willow Project. So there's some he's approving, some he's not approving. Like, it's a mixed record on oil drilling. And this guy's perspective is obviously drill. That's not my perspective. But like, just the fact that we're very likely still the #1 exporter of oil and gas. And he's bringing up like, bro, we don't have oil independence. You do realize the biggest impediment on that front is that it's not our oil. It's the oil of the private companies. It's ExxonMobil's oil. And all they care about are profits. So I would ask this guy, if you truly want to be oil independent, you know how we do that? We nationalize the oil. And we can control the flow of the resources much better if we nationalize it. And then we can have quote unquote oil independence overnight. We stop selling all of it overseas so these corporations can make a buck and we can determine how we use it here. But if you say to this guy, hey, let's nationalize the oil, he'll go, that's socialism, I don't want that. So which is it? Which is it? Is it, oh, we need oil independence? Or is it actually oil independence is bad because it's socialism in order to get us there?
A guy's name from South Dakota. I was looking into.
Oh, we got a Burgum supporter. We got a Burgum supporter. I love this woman. I love her.
I was looking into some of his ideas, and I think that we should still stay with a Republican, but not necessarily Trump. I'd like to see a little bit more of rational thinking come through. While I like how Trump had some ideas that were great and his financial abilities were leading us in the right direction, some of his changes that he put in while he was in term directly affected my work, and I didn't agree with some of them.
I wonder what she means. Some of his changes directly affected your work. Obviously, it's, I don't know, does she work for Medicaid or something? Is she in the healthcare field? And then since they cut off the funding for Medicaid, that her job was impacted? I don't know. I'm genuinely curious. I would love to follow up on that and say, how did his policies affect your work? I'm very curious about that. But this is she's like a traditional Republican, right? Oh, I like Doug Burgum. Why? I don't know. He says small government. I like small government. What you're going to see here is there's a huge gap between the Trump people and then comparatively how sane all of the other Republicans seem. Watch, when we get to the DeSantis guy, you're going to be like, he seems 1,000 times more sane than the Trump people.
I'm currently undecided, but I would be leaning towards Governor DeSantis.
A main reason why?
Just executive experience, all the things he's accomplished in a very purple state, can get things done. Had the largest victory in recent memory for Florida, even though it's a divided state. So, he can get things done. And I just don't think he's quite as divisive or antagonistic as President Trump would be. I'm
considering Vivek for my vote. I think he's sort of an outsider, and I don't think he has any political ties that are going to influence everything. I think so. That's what I'm considering right now.
He's taken a tremendous amount of money from Soros, and he made his money in the first place with this giant scam. He's an outsider. He's an outsider, but as he was an outsider, he was scamming people. But you know what? At least he's an outsider.
To Trump because he isn't a politician.
He was the president of the United States. He is by definition a politician. Oh God, I hate these dumb arguments. These bumper sticker slogans that inform somebody's politics.
This man and his list of accomplishments was tremendously good for our country.
Name them. Name them. My guess, you're not going to name them.
My main hang up is that he pushed through the sort of COVID things, the shots and whatnot.
I honestly don't know.
God damn it, man. The thing I hate about Trump the most was that one really, really good thing that he did. You know how they were able to do Operation Warp Speed and get a life-saving vaccine out to people? I didn't like that. They should have not done the life-saving vaccine, and instead of 1 million Americans dying, it should have been 4 million Americans dying. Oh my God. This is like if you ask, hey, what's the worst thing Trump did in your opinion? And the person's like, I hated when he pardoned Alice Johnson. The one indisputably good thing. And it's I really dislike that thing.
I honestly don't know yet. I really don't. I agree with the warp speed. Kind of did it for me. So I'm not 100% for Trump.
So we got another one who's against one of the few good things Trump did. Amazing.
But DeSantis, I see some good points, but I'm not really positive yet. I haven't really made up my mind yet. Might be naive, but I was hoping for somebody out of nowhere to come in.
I want to pick up on why you're sort of leaning away from Trump.
I think we'll have a much better shot of winning without Trump at the top of the ticket. I honestly think if Trump isn't on top of the ticket, we're going to lose all the state races in New Hampshire because he's very unliked, very unlikable. I appreciate all the things he did when in office. I think he did do a good job, but he's not a likable person. He's not a great person. And I think it would have a devastating effect on Republicans across the country to have him at the top of the ticket. I think we would feel that everywhere.
Again, I want you to take note. It's amazing how, look, I disagree with all of these people, but it's an amazing how big of a gap there is between, the non-Trump Republicans and the Trump Republicans.
Not worth it.
What would be your defense into
We're going with the vaccine. I, too, do not agree with the vaccine. I never got vaccinated myself.
I can't deal with it, man. I can't. Look, I want to ask these people, where are all these mass deaths from the vaccine that you predicted? Where are they? Where are they? I got the vaccine. I feel great. Virtually everybody I know got the vaccine. They're doing splendid. In fact, I've told this story before. I got the vaccine, and then like 3 weeks later, I was exposed to somebody directly who had COVID, and I didn't get COVID. And to me, that was like, oh shit, this thing is working. I was like, wow, that's incredible. So all these things, by the way, even like the Democrats, they're doing lockdowns, bro. Joe Biden hasn't done lockdowns. By the way, the original lockdowns happened under Trump, and it was usually the states who led the way, but they happened under Trump, and maybe even Republican governors did the lockdowns too. Joe Biden hasn't done lockdowns. But you're going to see one of the themes here is they think like, bro, the Democrats are going to do lockdowns and stuff, and I'm against that. They're not doing it. What are you talking about?
A free choice to do so. I know Trump did say, I would not force the vaccine on anybody. I do believe that Trump was given some bad advice, particularly with Dr. Fauci, and I forget the other woman that was there.
Fauci. And by the way, he said Trump didn't force the vaccines on anyone. Yeah, Biden also didn't force the vaccines on anyone. Everybody pretended like, oh my God, he's doing a vaccine mandate. Go back and look at what the policy was. The policy was, hey, you can either vaccinate or test. That's not a vaccine mandate. Vaccine mandate is take the vaccine, you have no choice. That wasn't a vaccine mandate. Vaccine mandate is, what he did was vaccine or test. So, hey, let me take a 2-second test, and that's good enough. And that was the policy. And by the way, that also got struck down by the Supreme Court. So what are we worried about here? Like, these people live in a fantasy world.
There's a lot of manipulation going on that the media will not be truthful about, but that is a lot what took place. I think he got some bad advice.
Well, there's many things that I agree with them on. I mean, the 4 years, there are some things like I think a lot of times he speaks without thinking, and I think that that's a detriment to himself. But I do think that the media warps so much of what is truly going on, and I feel like that's a huge problem. This in many areas, like with many of these candidates. I mean, it's hard to know the true person underneath them because it depends. If you listen to CNN, it tells you one thing. If you listen to Fox News, it tells you a different thing. How can we make America great again? Because it's not great right now. It's not great. And I've got 6 kids and I'm watching them have to grow up in this. And that worries me about what they're going to have to live with if somebody doesn't start shaking the boots somewhere.
He's a businessman and he has a lot of hard back on him. And that's why he says some of the things that he does, because he's a businessman. But he does right by the people. He could walk away anytime he wants with all his money, but he's still fighting to come back and say, I have to finish the job. I have to make us great again. When he put the tariffs on China, he was bringing jobs back and doing the border.
We lost 200,000 jobs under Trump. We're gaining 800,000 under Joe Biden, manufacturing jobs. For the love of God, man. If like the Biden economy right now, there's a lot of problems with it. Right? You know, it's still like 70% of Americans can't afford a $500 emergency and are living paycheck to paycheck and all that stuff. But if you just took like the unemployment rate number and how low inflation is, and you put this for Trump, they'd be like, oh my God, best economy ever. But now it's Biden. They're like, what? No, I don't even care about those things, bro.
That's why I like the guy. And yes, he doesn't say a lot of presidential things that he should be saying, but he also says a lot of things that people are thinking, but they won't come right out and say it. So let's call it what it is.
What are those things? Which are the things that you're thinking, but you won't say, but he's brave enough to say? Is it we need a total and complete shutdown of Muslims coming in the country? Is that it? Is it the Mexicans, they're criminals, they're rapists? I assume some are good people, talking about immigrants coming into the country. Which things? Which things are the things that you're thinking? He says it, but you're too politically correct to say it. I would love to know which things.
You shaking your head a couple of times.
I'm baffled by these arguments. I mean, he got bad advice. You want a president who got bad advice? That's really a cop-out. But I think mail-in ballots are here to stay, so they're here. So the media trumping up COVID and bringing COVID into the story, you think that helps President Biden to have a COVID outbreak on his watch? That definitely does not help him. So I think, could Trump beat him? Maybe. We all agree that Biden is totally incompetent, I think, and Trump already lost to him. Now, maybe it was a rigged election, but it shouldn't have even been close, right? Biden is totally incompetent. He shouldn't even win 5 states. So why don't we choose a candidate who doesn't come with all the baggage and all the issues and all the media hating him and all that, and let's get a fresh voice in there that can really whoever is the Republican nominee should wipe the floor with Biden, not be in a situation where a mail-in ballot or a media thing could swing it. It shouldn't even be that close. Don't leave it to the refs, right?
Generational divide. Did you notice that? Generational divide. That guy who's the non-Trump supporter, he sounds 1,000 times more rational than the other people, even though I don't agree with him on a lot of the stuff he says. And he's like speaking some sense. And the one thing I notice is he seems to be like the youngest guy in the room. So interesting. There's definitely something to that. But Man. I mean, you saw the numbers. Trump definitely has a solid advantage. Basically, the focus group is reflective of the polls in New Hampshire, which means the polls are relatively accurate. So the big guys still got a big, big lead. That's for sure. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.